people. We've got people online and here in the room. For those in the room, little housekeeping. Emergency exit is to the rear corner of the room. Assembly point is the far side of the car park. Toilets are at the end of the corridor on the right, and there is an accessible toilet to the right of the lift. Help yourself to a cup of tea, water, coffee, etc. Tonight, Paul's going to clerk. Laura, Sarah, Rebecca, and Rachel will manage the minutes, questions board, participant settings, and the IT generally. The meeting will be recorded and available on our YouTube channel. For councillors attending on Zoom, please use your yellow hand, and for anyone else, please ask questions to the Q&A board. My first job and last job this evening is to ask anyone who would like to propose the new chair. Thank you, Nick Dove. And you. Thank you. Seconded by Polly Lamb. Everyone. We're waiting for the last vote. You don't know what you're voting for yet?
That's, Fiona, are you voting? Okay, so that's majority with Fiona abstaining.
Great. That's it. Thank you very much. And it's now over to you.
Hi. Before I sit down, I just wanted to say a few things before we get on with tonight's meeting. I'm a bit emotional, actually, so I'd like to start by explaining why. When Nick first messaged me 3 years ago to say that he thought I'd make a good counsellor, I was, in all honesty, not in a great place. I have struggled with my mental health all of my life and with the challenges of a late diagnosis of ADHD. I've always felt on the outside of things and never that I'd actually achieved anything. Without Nick's encouragement to put myself forward as a counsellor, I never would have considered it. It didn't seem like a role meant for someone like me. But it turned out to be one of the best decisions that I've ever made. As I think everyone knows, I genuinely love being a counsellor. Given how daunting becoming a counsellor felt, you can imagine how considering running for chair and leader felt. Until recently, I never imagined myself in this position, not only because I doubted my abilities, but because I knew my financial situation would make it too difficult to fulfill this role. And that's why tonight means so much to me, because you haven't just voted me in, but pending the vote later this evening, could not happen. You've also created the conditions that allow me to actually take on this role and hopefully to do it justice. This doesn't just matter to me personally. There are so many people in Frome and elsewhere in the country who feel like I did, that they don't belong in spaces like this. They've been discouraged not only by the dominant idea of what a counsellor should be, but also by the very real barriers they would face. Tonight, we're not merely discussing inclusivity, but we're actively dismantling one of the barriers to it, and I'm really proud of us for that. The reason I believe inclusivity in this space matters so much is because I genuinely believe that local democracy really does matter. And that's why I'm making a speech that I'm aware is probably a bit grand for a space like this, but bear with me. We live in a culture that consistently values the national over the local. Everyone focuses on Westminster, viewing local politics as merely a watery reflection of national politics, as if it has no value or substance of its own. At the same time, people are feeling increasingly unheard, frustrated, and failed by national politics. More in Common recently published a poll showing that a plurality of Britons feel disconnected from society, mistrustful of institutions, and anxious about community divisions. The climate crisis, the inequality crisis, and the cost of living crisis are all deepening. Here in Frome, some people feel really left behind and pushed out of the town they've always called home. Our young people feel marginalised, always in the way, and limited by access to very few opportunities. Many of our local businesses are struggling. We have a housing crisis. And while previously we might have been able to make the case that these issues are for those higher up to tackle, I don't think we can, in all honesty, do that now. Our national politics is feeding divisions rather than bridging them and looking in the same old places for answers as always. And while our local authority, Somerset Council, is trying its best in the face of severe financial difficulties, it is struggling to afford the services it has to offer, let alone anything else. We have brilliant local Somerset councillors here in Frome, but key decisions are now being made in Taunton, an hour and a half away. There's a phrase I heard recently that has really stuck with me: democracy within walking distance. And I think that is what we are, a space that everyone can access to be not just part of discussions, but part of the solutions, not just passively voting for change, but actively being a part of that change. As Frome Town Council, we don't have many statutory responsibilities or powers. In the face of these significant problems, it's very easy for us to say, we're just a town council, what can we do? But every time we say that, we underestimate ourselves and this community. At our core, we are councillors and officers, a group of citizens who care deeply about Frome, collecting public money to work with other citizens and organisations to make Frome a better, more resilient and hopeful place to live for everyone. We are known for being a bold and dynamic town council, and we have at times over the last 15 years pushed the boundaries of what a town council can do. We've challenged how things are usually done to do them differently, hopefully better. We've recently stepped up through devolution from Somerset Council. I know how hard our staff work every day and how dedicated we are as a group of councillors. I'm also really proud to be part of Independence for Frome, the point of which was to take party politics out of local politics, to build something more human, more collaborative and more hopeful. And that spirit feels more important than ever right now. So I think it's time for us to push the boundaries again, to lean into our bold, innovative and creative streak and do everything we can to make Frome a more resilient, fair and hopeful place for everyone, to show what can happen when a community comes together, finds common ground and harnesses their collective energy, ideas and strengths. I'm really excited for this role and what I ambitiously hope will be the start of a new chapter for Frome Town Council. And I just want to say thank you again for voting for me, and I really hope I don't let you down. Right, I've never done this before, so please bear with me as I get to grips with it. So my first job is to ask if anyone would like to propose a new deputy chair. Anyone would like to propose a name? Who? Hold on, we're doing something else. Lisa, who are you proposing?
Is this on? Yep. Can I propose Anita Collier, please?
Can I have a seconder? Anne Hills. And that is, oh, I need to vote. Unanimous? That's unanimous. Oh, no, Anita was abstaining? Yes, okay. That's majority with Anita abstaining. Okay. Right, what's next? Apologies. Okay. Okay. So, apologies for absence. Who do we have?
We have apologies from Andy Jones, Mel Usher, Carla Colonet and Ben Still.
Great. Can I have someone to propose that? Max, I know you like proposing apologies. And Philip to second. All those in favour? I'm both. Split personality. Unanimous. That's unanimous. And then we have declaration of councillors' interests. Anyone have anything? No? Okay. And approval of minutes from the last meeting on the 30th of April. Is everyone happy with them? Do you want to, who's proposing? Proposed by Polly, seconded by Anita.
It's unanimous.
And that's unanimous. Thank you. Questions and comments from the public and councillors. Does anyone have anything they would like to say, not directly related to items on the agenda? Lenka, I'll go to you first.
Hi. So first of all, I'd just like to say I'm here, I'm speaking as Lenka, not as Fairfrome. So today I was quite disturbed by a motion that was put forward to Somerset Council regarding housing, particularly mentioning the stats around asylum seekers, that Somerset has to take 826 bed spaces, asylum seekers across the whole of Somerset, and this was contributing to the housing crisis. It didn't mention any other aspects. It was regarding that motion. Luckily, that did fail today. So I was, frantically on the phone to various councillors, our MP and everything. Found it quite disturbing because it was as you mentioned, Fiona, the national politics, the causing division and hate, and it's just growing, and it's just, it's not correct. So 0.05% of our population nationally that is attributed to asylum seekers. And actually, in Somerset, we've only reached 25% of that target. And what it puts across is that it's that whole blaming and blaming those people, scapegoating people, causing division and fear within our community. And I will go back to other factors that we need to be aware of here in Frome is the number of Airbnbs, over 400 Airbnbs, people owning multiple properties and second homes. And that is one of the reasons we've got a housing crisis. So I did bring this to their attention. And I was told that this comes down from national government. I don't believe that's true because places like Cornwall and Wales have actually input these things before. So, that's, I think that we could be working on that. I know I brought it up before, and I think I was supposed to email Paul about it, to give him some words to. So if someone wants to help me in that, and see if we can do something about that. So I just wanted to say on behalf of Multicultural Frome, the anti-racist group, that Frome is really inclusive, and thank Frome Town Council for the Welcome Hub. We have loads of people here, the staff, the town councillors, Frome is inclusive and we welcome everybody, and we're not going to be spreading division and fear. And we want everybody to be welcome here. Thank you.
Before we move on, would anyone like to comment or sort of have a response to that, to what Lenka just said? Is there anything you're sort of looking from us on that, or you just wanted to raise it? Mm-hmm.
Wanted to raise it and make people aware. Obviously, I've raised it with some of the Somerset councillors, and it was obviously it failed. It didn't go through, but that we all need to be aware of this within Frome and look out for each other and welcome the people that are living here. I know most people in this room do already, but it's just, let's be extra vigilant, and we need to raise a voice for people.
Nita, would you like to say something?
I hear you, Lenka. That's absolutely dreadful. There is, however, a glimmer of hope on the horizon, because the West of England Mayoral Authority today actually announced that they're going to be focusing on creating housing in this area for social housing. And I think that's a little bit of good news that we can hang on to, and hope that that starts to make a difference.
The West of England we're not in the West of England, though. It's very close. It will soon be the heart of Wessex, but it doesn't exist yet.
Okay.
I think.
Apologies then.
No, that's okay. It will be close.
But it's a beacon of hope for us, maybe.
So
Okay.
it's not far. Steve?
Lincoln, we'll catch up offline. I'll run you through what we know about the Airbnb numbers, because it's pretty messy and complex, and some are just rooms and some are housing and stuff like that. So I think the 400 is a little bit misleading, but I haven't got the up-to-date numbers, but I can go with you what we've found out so far and what we can do about it or not.
Sorry, speaking as Fair Frome, I know that is what we're dealing with is people. I understand Airbnb rooms, that's kind of different. But there are houses, people are being evicted from houses and they're being made into Airbnbs. So that is an issue.
Any other comments or questions? Philip?
First of all, congratulations, Fiona.
Thank you.
Secondly, I speak as a son of immigrants, so Lenka, I'd be happy to have a chat with you and work with you in any way I can help. Quite trivial what I'm going to say next, it sounds like. Buses. It came to my attention through First Bus that the D2X, which now goes along the butts, stops at the bus stop, designated bus stop as it is at the moment, which is the flag, right in the middle of the zigzags as it crosses the zebra crossing, the new zebra crossing on the way to Sainsbury's, which means that if it actually stops at the bus stop, the rear end of the bus is still on the actual zebra crossing. I've spoken to Dan Ashworth, who's the operations manager Southwest for First Bus, and notified him of this. I went down there, had a look at it. I've had a look at it again tonight on my way here. It's still there, but there is a post that's been put in as part of the new works and the zebra crossing about 30, 40 metres further down on the left. So it needs to be moved. Now, that's a very simple, easy thing to do, but I cannot yet get anybody to move it. I don't think we can move it. I can't remember if I mentioned it to Rob or somebody here, or Becca. I don't think we can move it. It's not within our remit. But it's very dangerous that it's there. I've emailed and phoned, left voice mails with Dan Ashworth. Nothing yet has been done. So I'm going to have a couple more goes, and then perhaps we should write as, council. And if there are any Somerset councillors here that could push Somerset, which I've tried as well, to get that moved.
You want to forward on an email to Shane so he can pick it up?
Yeah, I can forward what I've got to Shane. Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. Anything else on buses before we move on? Nick, you go next.
Thank you. A few things. Thank you very much. I'll do two things at once. A number of times people will come up to me and say to me, there's an issue in the town that needs fixing. And because of past experiences with Somerset Council, I've always suggested they use an app called Fix My Street. However, Somerset Council have now posted that they will not respond to any Fix My Street referrals. The trouble is that leaves us in a bit of a hole. I mean, just for examples of a lack of response, any response, let alone action from Somerset Council officers. Some examples, requesting a discussion from a planning officer about the blue ball licensing restrictions on the 31st of March. Not only do I not get an acknowledgement of the email or will respond to a certain time of thing, but just no response at all. Asking highways to install parking signage in Badcocks has been removed with graffiti and criminal damage. 25th of March, no response, absolutely nothing happened about that. Zero response from the Somerset Council conservation officer for over a year, despite us chasing for meetings and conversation. It's really kind of rubbish in terms of service delivery. And Shane, I kind of appreciate you're the only Somerset Councillor in the room, but I don't know, I've written to Bill Revens about it. I'd just be grateful if we could write formally from the council to make the point that it should, as a bare minimum, we should surely, when we are asking for officers who are paid to do a job that we can't do ourselves, to respond to the request, give us a kind of undertaking, we'll be back in touch within, a week or whatever. It's just, acknowledge the request or the email, and then give us a timescale of when they will respond. That would be really helpful. And it doesn't seem to be at all unreasonable to ask that. Another thing that I was asked of today was, are the car parking machines now moving to entirely cashless? This was raised by traders in Frome, because a lot of our shoppers come and used to use cash to pay, and if that's another thing that stops them using our car parks and therefore our shops, that will not be unhelpful. I don't know how we can find that out. I was hoping to find the parking wardens, because they have responsibility for the car parks, but I couldn't find one today. You never find one when you want one, and find them when you don't want them, that's for sure. Yeah. That was all moans about that side of things. And my last point is a familiar subject to some. We now have a large number of staff, even more than we had before, brilliant, and we have and continue to take on more and more responsibilities. Last year, a number of us asked for one of our many FTC initiatives to be costed. And after several months of waiting, it transpired that FTC didn't have a system which allowed them to understand how much different strands and initiatives cost. Has that changed? Do we now have a system in place where we are able to say, for example, we've now taken on the key centre, and this is what are the opportunity costs of staff involved in it, and so on and so on. I think that would be really useful and should be how we manage a business that is a multi-million-pound business now. Thank you.
Okay. Should we start with the Somerset Council things? I mean, Shane, do you know why they've stopped using Fix My Street?
Yeah, sorry, no, I don't. I got the same message with a new address to send to. And Nick, as to all your unanswered emails to Somerset, if you want to forward them on to me, and then I'll forward them on and probably get the same response, but maybe not.
I mean, I'll probably be in contact with Bill Revens, Councillor Bill Revens, after tonight. And I think having some sort of system where we can raise issues, because it does, it takes up our staff time and it takes up their staff time, so it's sort of ineffective. So I will raise that, and if we don't get anywhere, then maybe your idea of a formal letter, but I think it might be better to try it in that way to start with and see if we can come up with a system that works for all of us. Is that okay? Yeah, to try on that. And I think it'd be good to know why they're not using Fix My Street as well. It's a My Society. I know the people who are part of creating it. It's really cool, for want of a better word. Paul, on the FTC process, do you want to?
Lucy's got a question, I'm not sure what it's...
It's just a comment from Dawn Denton, Somerset Councillor, just to say, please push your Somerset Council officers. There's a concern about comms with so many redundancies. So I'm just sharing what she's put in the Q&A.
Okay.
No, we haven't got a system in place, Nick, and I haven't been asked other than you last year for one.
Sorry, so you weren't asked last year?
Other than yourself was asked, you asked last year.
On behalf of a number of us at a NIF meeting.
I haven't got a system in place.
Right, I really think we should have one. We have a multi-million-pound organisation now. We should be able to say how much something that we take on and do cost. And there's very simple ways of doing that. Everyone logs on to a laptop or a computer. There's a number of easy systems that you can opt where it would allow us to understand what our staff are doing.
If councillors want me to do that, then that's something we can do, I'm sure.
I think in previous IF meetings, which are informal meetings, I think we have had a discussion about this, and there's been a slight sort of different ways of doing it. So can I suggest that maybe we talk about it, and then I will pick it up after we've talked about it. And if there is a general agreement, then yes, and then I'll suggest that we can do that. Is that okay? Okay. Any other questions and comments? Max, you want to say something?
That we would quite like to know the cost of that exercise, and it's quite a simple thing to do.
I think there was an agreement maybe about that exercise, but maybe not about it going forward, and that's my recollection. It may be wrong. Do we want to do a vote now? It feels a little bit messy to do that, and I don't
think we need a vote. It's just a request, and I think the point is it's a request that's come from many of us, not just from one person.
Okay.
What is the request, so I'm clear?
Cost the community engagement exercise in terms of staff time and expenditure.
That's different from what Nick is saying.
Oh, is that okay?
Talking about something.
Yeah, I think that's gone because that was in the past. What I was saying from that moment onward, I thought we had an IF meeting and we discussed it. It'd be really helpful to understand how we could have a better feeling and understanding of what different initiatives cost. And I shared with Sarah a kind of a software program that is used very commonly by people who are sort of digital nomads, etc., to just account for their time. It just then would allow us to just go in and say, key centre, what's that cost us so far in terms of opportunity costs, building costs, and so on. I can share that again. Clockify, yeah, thanks.
Can we explore that and have a discussion with you. I think it's probably best not to sort of sit here with
Yeah,
you.
I thought that was happening 6 months ago, so my fault for not realising. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Thanks.
Make a note to make sure that it is, that we look at it. Any other comments or questions from anyone? No? Okay, we move on. So the next item on the agenda is deciding whether to adopt standing orders and whether to adopt the power of general competence. Is there anything? That's you.
Did you bring the laptop so I can see it? Next one. Marvellous. Good. So this is quite a change in our standing orders. The ones that I've circulated have got track changes in them, so you can see the precise changes that are being proposed. I think there are probably 4 main changes to the standing orders from current and post tonight. The proposal is the first one there to merge the 2 roles. Historically, we had a leader and separately a chair. Secondly, the civic duties of the chair will be carried out by the deputy. We're establishing a new committee called Communities in Place. The remits of those are detailed in the standing orders. And one of the advantages of a second committee is that this meeting of council will be have more space to be able to sort of public debate things that are important to the town. And those are the main changes. Happy to take any questions, but I thought there's quite a lot of detail in the papers you've already received.
Does anyone have any questions or comments on the standing orders? Anything that's not? What was called the Oversight Committee will now be called, I get the name wrong all the time, Operations and Assets, even though I technically came up with it, and then Communities in Place. And our work programmes will be split between the 2 of them. So Operations and Assets is open spaces, business services, the sort of things where we're directly delivering, and Communities in Place are the ones where we're more in a convener sort of role. So climate emergency, the community engagement and development team, town centre. Yes, roughly speaking. Pardon? Yes, part of community engagement and development, and communications will be part of that one as well. And it's mainly to sort of allow more time in a council meeting for discussions. Polly.
Small semantics thing. It's been changed from matters of concern to the town to matters important to the town will come to the main council meeting. And it's like really broad and maybe intentionally so, but I just thought that it would be helpful if you were a member of public to understand that what that is really, because like a lot of the things that we are discussing that in the for instance the place and communities in place also be really important to the town. So the things that would be part of the operations and assets would also be really important to the town. So it just sort of didn't really define anything. Is it supposed to be broad?
I think so. I think Paul and I sort of started having conversations, and I'll bring in councillors, but particularly you, actually, would be great to get your input on, as to things that we could maybe do a bit differently with council meetings, in terms of maybe sort of having a discussion about something in particular at a council meeting and making that very clear ahead of time, so anyone who had thoughts or wanted to contribute on it would kind of know and be able to sort of come. So it could be a discussion about young people, for instance, or local businesses, or something like that, but we can kind of decide that. So I think it's sort of broad to then allow us to be more focused in different meetings. If that makes sense. to allow different focuses. Mark's looking at me like I've said something wrong.
The idea is just probably semantics. Operations and Assets Committee replaces Oversight Committee, correct? More or less, yeah. No, there's a bit, point 9 in the remit of the committee about HR. And I know this comes up later in the meeting, but I'm a bit confused because it says a group comprising 3 councillors, including the chair, to advise the Oversight Committee on issues related to staff grievance, etc. So why is Oversight Committee still included in that when we've replaced it?
This was a check to make sure councillors read the report, yeah. It's an error.
I did read it, yeah.
Well, for reading it, and it's an error. We'll change that.
All right. Okay. Philip.
Just a point of clarity and information. I noted on the slide you put up there, the word mayor doesn't appear. So do I take it that the deputy chair conducting civic duties will be doing so as the mayor?
Yeah.
Thank you. And also, just on a point, maybe for public interest, that now that we have chair and deputy chair, as also the mayor will not, the deputy chair will not be wearing civic chains in the chamber during these meetings.
Correct.
Thank you.
Deputy chair have a deputy.
Not officially, but I know that she is hoping that you will be that deputy. I think we learned last year that anyone can wear the deputy mayor's chains. Not that you're not special or anything, but it can be a, yeah, okay.
There's just one other, if there are no other questions on standing orders, there's just the other thing on the agenda there is to approve the councillor's code of conduct that there are no changes to from the current one. So it's just annual reapproval, if you want to.
And also the general powers of competence, but there isn't a recommendation there.
No, there is not. It's just,
Okay.
there's just a note.
Okay, we are competent. Okay. Can I get a recommendation, Anita, and a seconder, Polly, and that is unanimous?
Unanimous.
Unanimous, thank you. And that included the councillor's code of conduct?
Yes.
Okay. And so the next one is to adopt the calendar of meetings 2025 to 2026. Yeah.
Evening all. So those of you that have read the standing orders know that there are now 2 committees in the calendar. So previously you would have agreed the calendar of meetings for 25-26 back in January, if you can remember that far back. Obviously now that we've introduced a new committee, we have redesigned the calendar of meetings. So we've tried to keep most of the same dates, but some have changed. So hopefully you've noted those and you'll approve those. Also, since the report was written, we will be scheduling an extraordinary meeting, and by that means an extra meeting outside of the ordinary calendar of meetings rather than an extraordinary meeting. The proposed date for this will be Wednesday the 4th of June. Now that isn't currently in the calendar, but I will obviously amend that and make sure everyone has the details in their diaries. This meeting will be to discuss Badgers Hill. And then I just wanted to draw your attention to the one that is in the current calendar that's in the report that's on the 18th of June, and that one is specifically to sign off the annual governance and accountability return, or the AGAR as some of us know it, as well as the annual update to the financial regulations. Yeah, mentioned that one. Yep, any questions?
So just to clarify, is this an update from the one that's on the agenda?
Yes.
Because extraordinary meeting is on the 18th on the agenda.
Yes. So June actually is going to be a bit of a busy month, I'm afraid. So we will have an extraordinary meeting on the 4th of June to discuss Badgers Hill. Then there will be a committee meeting on the 11th of June, and apologies, I can't recall what the committee is. Community in Place, the very first meeting of the Community in Place Committee, and then the next week on the 18th of June will be the one specifically to discuss the AGAR and the financial regulations.
Which will be a standard council meeting.
No, that's going to be classed as an extraordinary meeting because it's...
2 extraordinary meetings.
Yes, I'm afraid so.
So extraordinary.
So don't worry, I will make
again.
sure that everyone has those dates in their diaries. I will be updating the website ferociously tomorrow with all of the changes, so it shouldn't be a surprise.
Thank you.
We got one nicked.
Are we having a meeting of the Mary Bailey Trust immediately after this meeting? No.
So the annual their annual meetings, that's
Yes.
Dora, Mary Bailey,
Yes.
and now the Frome Millennium Green Trust, they happen in August.
August.
I think we've got one at the end of August for council now proposed. So council had been scheduled for September. We've moved it slightly back into August. So at that meeting we can.
Okay.
Have those
I just had a memory that I knew we had to have once a year. And
yes.
yes, the grants meeting's on the 4th of June. The grants committee's meeting.
Okay.
Leave that one with us.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the calendar? No? Everyone happy? Okay. Who would like to propose we accept that? Steve, seconded by Max. To be confirmed, I think. It's not in the recommendation, so it doesn't matter. And I think, yeah, that's fine. Okay. That is... Steve proposed it. Unanimous. Thank you. Okay. The next item is to elect the membership, not the chairs, of the Community in Place, Operations and Assets, Planning and Grant Committees, and to appoint lead councillors.
So thank you all for letting me know your preferences. They are on the screen there. Ben has since let me know that he'd like to be on the Community and Place Committee, so that's why it's in red, because it's not in your packs. We also talk about the Grants Committee and the Planning Committee as well, so they're all on there, and the lead councillors, which are on the final page of the report. And there's a table here of the proposals I've received for those lead councillors. Fiona, I don't know how you want to take those. Sorry, just one more thing. Yeah. As you said, we had suggested that the chairs of these committees could be elected tonight, but there was competition for one of the committees, which is a marvellous thing. So I suggest the first meeting of every committee, you elect your chair for the session. So that's why we're dropping the chair bit.
Max.
About these the committees. So if there was an item on the Operations and Assets Committee that I was just too exciting to resist and I wanted to come along, would I be able to, and could I vote?
Yes, but you can't vote. So all councillors are welcome to attend, but only those on the committee can vote on the committees. Mark?
We go back to the list of councillors. There's an awful lot in one and not so many in the others. How many have to be quorate in each committee?
So it's 6 for the 2 smaller ones, is a minimum number, which means that they will be quorate at 3. So that's for planning and grants. Yeah. We did in the standing orders change the, Paul changed the standing orders down to 6 for the grants committee because we only had that and it made sense for it to be in line with planning. there will now be, with Ben, there'll be 13 in the community in place. So that will be Cora at 5.
5 actually.
5. And operations and assets, there's 8, which is the minimum number, and that will be Cora at 4, right?
So 12 with community in place, so the core number will be 4.
Okay. Cora number will be 4 for community in place.
Okay, thank you.
Community in place was just more popular, and that's how it went. Any other questions or comments about that? So that's the committee. Do you just want to go onto the slide for the lead councillors and just check that everyone, I don't think there's many changes from what has unofficially been the case for the last year, except Carla as community engagement and development. And buildings is a new one that sort of brings different things together, which Steve put himself forward for. So it's sort of formalising what has sort of been doing informally. Is everyone happy with that? We can maybe come up with a better name than buildings, is a little bit. You did. You did. Okay, can we go on to the recommendation? Should we do it all at once? Is everyone happy? Okay. Proposer is, I'm trying to get everyone, Mark, and a seconder, Lisa. And everyone in favour? Great.
We just need to say that the recording is unanimous.
It's unanimous. Thank you. The final item on the agenda is to decide on councillors and the chair's allowance.
Yeah, we those with longer memories will remember we established councillor allowances a couple of years ago now, and the first proposal is to bring that up into line with the 8% amount that Somerset councillors have. So the first proposal is to move up the councillor allowance from
1,240.
good to. Why is it on my screen?
1,291.
Well, 1,291. So that's just an inflationary increase. The second item is around the chair's allowance. As we heard earlier, the historic role of the leader and the chair have now largely merged with the civic functions normally being done by the deputy. It's quite a big task. And had lots of discussions, taken some legal advice on this. And it's really important that councillors look at the recommendations from the Somerset Remuneration Panel, which is double the amount that they recommend for councillors as opposed to the chair, which comes in at 2,400. The legal advice that I've had is that you as a council need to consider why you might not want to take that advice and set a different amount. You have to have regard for it. That's the word in the legislation. And I think, as sort of I've summarised the report here, the two key ones are that the 1972 Local Government Act was written in 1972, and that was quite a while ago. And the parish sector then and now are two very, very different things, not least for the larger towns. Like this one, with a £3.5 million expenditure budget, 40 plus staff, and a lot of responsibilities. So the legislation was written at a different time when parish councillors were a very different group of people with very different responsibilities. And by merging the leader and chair role, it's actually a very time-consuming and quite a demanding role and takes quite a lot of time. So I've taken soundings from councillors as well as legal advice on this. And the kind of the suggestion that I'm hearing is that the chair's allowance should be somewhere in the region of £15,000. And that is that.
Okay. Comments, Anne?
I was reflecting on the amount of allowance and speaking as a former leader of the council. And I think when I was in that role, it took about 3 days a week. And reflecting on an allowance of £15,000, that's about 3 days a week at minimum wage. And I think to peg the councillor's allowance and speak about it in terms of the number of hours at national living wage is quite appropriate. It's not salary replacement, because say we got a highly paid individual as our leader in the future, we can't expect to replace their salary. But what we can do is open up the opportunity, as you said in your acceptance speech at the beginning, it does open up the opportunity for people who couldn't otherwise to take on what is a really demanding role.
Thank you, Anne. Nick?
Yeah, I agree with exactly what Anne said, but it's broader than that, I think. 3 years ago, we, at our first meeting as a new group, we talked about, if you looked at the profile of councillors, this is my 6th year, I think, as councillor, and I'm lucky enough to be in a situation where no one is chasing me down the road trying to pay me to do loads of work, so I can pick and choose what I do. But what was really important is that we have an opportunity to ensure that the widest possible pool of people could consider becoming councillors. And if by putting in place a small allowance for councillors who wish to claim it, that would allow them maybe to get babysitters or to give up a couple of hours work and just be able to be a bit more available and just see it not quite such a daunting thing, because I think everyone who's become a councillor has probably been surprised at how quickly it is, how easy it is to get involved in more meetings, and it becomes quite time consuming. And it seemed unfair to have a situation where some of us who didn't need to claim the allowance or didn't want to claim the allowance were free to do all those, and other people were excluded from it. So this just feels like a natural extension of that. I still think we should focus on the idea that that is what the allowance was created for. It was created to allow people who might not otherwise be able to consider it to do so. So I fully support this.
Lucy and then Max.
It's not working. I've got a comment from Dawn Denton, Somerset councillor. She says, I am in full support of councillors receiving an allowance. It allows more people to come forward to represent their communities, and more voices can be at the table for decisions that affect all residents. An allowance means more representation and more democracy.
Thank you, Dawn. Max?
So I support this as well, but I just want to be kind of clear about what we are proposing here and what's happening and kind of what's not happening. So it was really clear in our conversations that both Fiona wanted to be leader of the council and we wanted her to be leader of the council, and I'm delighted that that has happened. But I need to be clear that what we're trying to do is to enable that possibility. We are not, as far as I'm concerned, establishing a post, a paid chair post. But both the legislation says you can't pay a salary, so this is really just about enabling somebody to do something that wouldn't otherwise be able to do it. And I would not, I'm pretty clear also that we're not establishing this in perpetuity. We're doing this for this year to enable a particular individual to be able to do it. We're not saying, hey, there's a leader of the council post which pays 15k who would like to do it. That's really not the way we want to do this. We want to elect the person we want, and then we want to make it possible for them to be able to take the post that we've wanted them to take. And I completely get why the resolution is worded in the way it is, and I completely understand the legal advice and all of that kind of stuff. But I just want to be clear from my point of view as a councillor, and I think from other councillors' point of view, about what's going on here. And it's really important that the public know that that's what we're trying to do. This is about inclusivity and accessibility. It's not about establishing paid, majorly paid roles for councillors.
Okay, great. Would anyone else like to say anything on that? Steve?
I agree with pretty much everything that's been said. And as regards to point two, I'd like to propose that, the allowance is 15,000 going forward.
Okay, proposed by Steve, seconded. by Anita. Hold on. And then all those in favour?
A majority with Lisa and Philip abstaining or abstaining.
And I'm abstaining for obvious reasons as well.
So what we've done there is the first proposal is to set the amount, and now you're looking at the recommendations on the screen. So I thought that might be the better way of doing it.
So that was to set the amount of what Steve suggested, and there's now another vote for it to go through. So that is, I'm presuming this again. So the first one was for Steve's amount of £15,000. This is for these two recommendations to be accepted.
Yeah, it's a little bit messy, but the second recommendation there is to set the council allowance. So what we've done, someone has proposed to set the amount of allowance at 15,000. So that was the amendment to the recommendation, and now we're looking at the two recommendations in their entirety.
Would you like me to do it separately? Okay, so we have agreed that 15k for the chair's allowance. We're now doing item number 1, which is set the council's allowance for 2025-26 at 1,291. Proposed by Steve, seconded by Max, and unanimous. And then the second one is to set the chair of the council's allowance for 25-26 to be drawn from the general reserve at the amount that has already been agreed by Steve, which is 15,000. So that is proposed by Anita, seconded by Polly.
And then that's a majority with the same two people
Abstaining, and I'm abstaining as well, for obvious reasons. We've just done something quite groundbreaking. Thank you. Oh, Tracy, do you want to say something?
Keep clarifying the clarifying of the clarifying. But just to clarify, for anybody listening from outside of council, everything that has been said in support of this I agree with, but I wouldn't want anybody to think for one moment there was any kind of, it's not been done to show that we are inclusive. It's not got any form of virtue signalling behind it. Just to be clear for people who weren't involved in our discussion, so that's everybody apart from the 17 of us, that we individually, a lot of us individually felt that Fiona was the best man for the job was a woman. No surprise there. She's fantastic and has been. There are other people who are also fantastic. I just wanted to be really clear that it was about Fiona's quality and input and commitment and dedication, her ability to be consistent and to produce work over and over again and communicate and dedicate herself to it. It's not us trying to, it's not us trying to be inclusive.
Thank you, Tracy. I've been trying not to cry all night and now I'm going to. So I think that's the end of the meeting. The next meeting, it says on here, is at 7 p.m. on the 2nd of July, but as we have heard, that is a lie. Anita. It is true, but no, we've got the June one, the next ordinary council meeting. Okay. Anita.
Thank you, Fiona. Congratulations on your chair. It's wonderful. I just wanted to say a huge thank you because I'm delighted to be your deputy as chair and to wear the mayoral chain. I'm very excited by that. And I want to thank all of you for having the confidence in me to take that on. So thank you very much. But as an aside, I think it's quite interesting. And another thing that really heartens me is, as a female and as the oldest member of the council, I really look forward to working with you as the youngest female member. Well done.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so next meeting is on this. Oh, okay, we're good. Okay, Lisa. Try not to cry.
Just very quickly, I'd just like to say a big thank you on behalf of all the councillors to Steve for leading the council this year. And on record to Andy Jones for performing the role of mayor this year.
Is that it? Yes, okay. Pub, anyone? Next meeting is on the 2nd of July at 7 p.m. on Zoom and in the town hall. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Yeah.